Travis saw the Super Mario Brothers movie and he thinks Bob Hoskins did a great job.
News organizations keep leaving Twitter. They can probably be found on MySpace, though.
We talked to one of the Duggar kids who is all grown up now and had a lot to say about owning her faith in God.
Have you bought tickets to the After Hours Pride Night at Disney?
Trump is making America great again by selling more Trump card NFTs. Neato.
All this and more on
The Babylon Bee Podcast.
Hot on the heels of the second largest bank failure in U.S. history and the 8th interest rate hike within a 12-month period, 186 more banks are at risk of collapsing. Your bank could be next unless the Fed does what they just did back in March and prints $300 billion out of thin air, making your dollar worthless. Not to mention the recession risk that could have a significant impact on your investment and retirement accounts. Take our advice and protect your financial future with something real, like gold and silver, from my friends at Allegiance Gold. Allegiance Gold can help you protect your IRA or 401k with physical gold and silver, and if you prefer, you can have it delivered securely right to your front door. Since the beginning of time, there is only one universal currency that is always of value, and that's gold. Allegiance Gold has the highest ratings in the industry, 5 stars with TrustLink, a AAA rating with the Business Consumer Alliance, and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. You can invest with confidence because of the quality and service of Allegiance Gold. Get up to $5,000 in free silver on a qualifying purchase when you visit protectwithbee.com today. That's protectwithbee.com. Or give them a call at 844-790-9191.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Babylon Bee Podcast. I'm here with Jarret and Emma this week. How are you guys doing?
Great. Thanks for having
Doing
me on
well.
again.
Yeah, you were all right last time, so we decided to have you back.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
I made it. Yes.
You did. You made the cut.
I made the cut.
Yeah. It's touch and go there for a minute, but yeah.
We got a lot going on today. We talked to Jinger Duggar.
Ginger.
Ginger?
It's Jinger.
I don't think you're allowed to say Jinger Duggar as a white person.
Wait, is that? Watch your mouth.
I don't
So
know who
Ginger
that
is one of the Duggar kids.
Okay.
They all have names that start with J. That's
okay.
why her name is spelled wrong.
I
So
see.
it's Ginger.
I wasn't on that interview, clearly.
But I was on. She
Okay.
talked about disentangling your faith instead of what's the word?
Deconstructing.
Deconstructing. So instead of just like taking apart your faith and saying all of this is wrong, instead she's pulling out all the things that are wrong and the things that are right. Because she was very like, they're from a kind of a very culty-ish church growing up.
It was very
Were they on that reality show?
patriarchal.
Yes.
It's kind of
okay.
the biggest thing is this patriarchal hierarchy kind of stuff.
That's
yeah.
not the biggest thing.
There's a lot of other things.
Yeah, there's more things.
Well, we'll let Ginger explain it all a little later. Travis's Game Corner is back with his first movie review ever, Super Mario Brothers. And we have the news of the week, my weekly news. I'll be talking about Babylon Bee comments and, of course, Sizzler comments.
Yeah, there's a really good Sizzler comment this week.
Yeah?
I'm very excited about it. Yes. Yeah.
You
Gonna
peeked
be
ahead?
pretty cool. I did peek ahead.
Can't wait to find out what it is.
Oh, no. It's amazing.
I don't even look far enough ahead to know how to pronounce the names that are coming up.
Jinger Duggar.
I haven't known who anyone on the podcast is since Yanis Pappas. So,
Oh, yeah.
What about Jamie Kennedy?
I was reminded who he was.
Yeah, I haven't heard of him. I don't know. Yeah.
He's not listening. It's okay.
Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Hit the little bell to keep up with all our podcasts on YouTube and Rumble. And find our Babylon Bee podcast page on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yeah.
You can go to babylonbee.com/plans and use promo code podcast, all capitals, to get 20% off. If you become a Babylon Bee subscriber, you can pitch headlines in the forum and have the Babylon Bee read your pitches, comment on the articles, roll our eyes or be quiet when we don't like one. You can get ad-free website experience,
I would say
exclusive
it's the
bloopers.
majority.
It's not the majority.
No.
It depends on who.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Kyle always, he always just hands out the no card, you know.
Yeah. And you can see,
like more of them. That's what you're saying.
I like Pure Teja's ones.
Oh, yeah. No, those pitches are great.
Yeah.
I actually like all those.
The
That's
random
true.
ones are usually weird.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't love the ones where there's some forum inside joke in it that I don't catch on to.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
The
it's-
atomic
It's
fart
so
weasel
cool.
thing. I don't get
Well,
it.
like become subscribers so you can find out that there's even like inside
Then you'll
jokes.
understand the inside jokes that
I love it.
that I
It's
don't
so
even
cool.
understand.
The whole week where they made fun of you for not being on
fine.
the forum, like
I would rather be
love
made
that.
fun of for not being on the forum than the way I pronounce Mario.
Hey, subscribers, you
very-
heard it.
I'm so sorry. I feel like I've really offended you. No.
We should keep doing it so you get over it.
You need to get a thicker skin. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's cool too because I think that's one of the major big points of being a subscriber is that you get to be part of the community.
Yeah.
You're connected. You're not just connected to us. You're connected to this great group of people. I think it's really cool. Very cool.
You also get to see outtakes from the sketches, full-length, ad-free podcast, and you're supporting the Babylon Bee and helping us win the culture war against drag queen story hours. That's it for our plug. Let's go to
Adam's really salty today.
It's like a whole segment.
It says we're defeating.
Okay.
The Babylon Bee was founded to defeat drag queen story.
It didn't even exist when we were founded.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy too.
let's go to what's in the news this week.
All right.
What's in the news this week?
Twitter made changes to its terms of service that went into effect May 18th, reflecting that Twitter Inc. is now X-Core. Also, people seem to believe that trans people are now at risk of targeted misgendering. So I think the big story here was that they quietly, as the AP says, removed their policy against targeted misgendering or dead naming of transgender individuals, which of course means you're not allowed to call transgender people by their actual biological sex and their real name now.
I mean,
Right.
targeted misgendering.
But on Twitter, you can do that.
Now you can.
Now you can. I
They
mean,
used to have a policy against it.
Yeah.
it shouldn't fall under a bullying policy to start
No,
with.
it's idiotic.
I
It's
think
just a
we
way to-
know,
I don't mind using.
about this. We got kicked off of Twitter for exactly this.
I think it's dumb to call it dead naming when you use the old name. I don't have a problem personally using if transgender people legally change their name or have a new name. I don't mind using that. But I'm not going to use made up pronouns.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably protest if they use my name. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for that. There's like Rachel, there's all these people.
Wait, what?
There's Caitlin. There's no Emmas. I'm waiting
no
for like a famous trans Emma.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sure there's an Emma trans person.
There's
That's a
I don't
very
wanna know about
popular
it.
name.
But I haven't seen it. I haven't
Oh,
seen
really?
it.
No one's transitioned into an Emma yet.
Not yet.
Dude,
not that
all
I've
the
seen.
Jane Austen names have been taken by some of these dudes. There's got to be.
Fitting.
I wonder what the most
Emma.
common transition names are. There's got to be a list of like
It's like
the
Sophia.
ones that people,
it's
that men most commonly transition into when they become a woman.
I don't know. I like that
like-
Dylan Mulvaney didn't change his name.
Yeah.
I like that it's Dylan. It's like,
Yeah.
good for you. Don't change your name. You're still your same person.
Are there any jingers?
I bet you there is.
I hope not.
I bet you there is.
Poor Ginger. I would be so frustrated.
I hope somewhere out there in the world there's a trans person whose dead name is Mario and whose new name is Jinger.
It's good stuff. Hey, let's move on. Elon Musk continues to be based. I actually love
hilarious.
this story. So it's a post on Twitter. Canadian Broadcasting Corps, which is like the BBC for Canada, said that they're less than 70% government funded. So Elon Musk and Twitter corrected the label. It says on the label now, 69% government funded. The official CBC Twitter bringing you the best of Canada, which is really interesting because did you know, you heard about, he did this with NPR as well. So he's any kind of news organization that accepts government money is now getting called out, which I think is awesome.
Yes, you should know that.
Yeah.
Like, you should know that. I'm public affairs in the military, so I'm 100% government funded.
Uh-huh.
So anything that I
You're gonna
publish.
get us a label. We're
Yeah,
gonna
you
get
got a
labeled.
label.
Not here. It's a different
Emma
job.
is 69% government funded.
69%. All right, CBC Radio.
No, 100. But it's like anything that I publish is in line with the commander's intent. So it is a skew. Like, so these journalists cannot publish anything if it's out of line with the government's intent for what they're funding them for.
Especially if 69% of your income's coming from them.
Yeah.
CBC Radio Canada had this to say about it. Our journalism is impartial and independent. To suggest otherwise is untrue. That is why we are pausing our activities on Twitter.
And then they
Notre
wrote it in
journalisme est impartial et indépendant. because they're French.
Here's an example of some of the programming that you get on 69% government-funded media. This is an article from the CBC. Drag Kids, a daring and touching portrait of 4 kids chasing freedom and friendship through the art of drag.
I hate that they're calling it an art now. Is it really an art?
It's an art to look like a woman, a fake woman.
So
In the broadest sense, I don't think it's good art, but I would say it's art.
it's expression for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's art. I think there's a difference. But did you guys see that BBC interview with Elon Musk? You saw it this week.
Yeah.
It's kind of in line with all
I
this.
saw that clip.
Yeah.
Should we even show that clip on this? Because I think it's incredible. I think it's amazing.
The clip is great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this poor guy. This interviewer, it was his first interview.
He was getting eaten alive.
It was amazing.
You could
I felt
tell he
bad for
knew
him.
he was in over his head. And Elon looked like he wasn't even trying.
I know.
No.
Just
It's
asking.
like you just lied.
Yeah.
You just lied.
So if you didn't see the BBC interview, he told the interviewer who claimed he has seen a rise in hate speech on the Twitter platform, he called him a liar after he couldn't name one example of an increase in hate speech. But it was funny watching this guy backtrack. First, the guy said there's been an increase. Then he said he's seen it personally. Then Elon said, "Can you give me an example?" And he said, "Well, no." And he stutters. He's like, "Well, but I've heard other people say that." And he's like, "So
No,
you
first
didn't see
he
it?"
was like, "Well, I don't really get on the feed
Yeah.
anymore.
I'm not even on Twitter. It's
I'm
like,
not
well,
even on
then
Twitter.
you don't have
Where did
any
you see
point
it
of
then?
reference. Yeah.
Where did you see it?
Oh, they say. They
Like,
say.
there are organizations that say. He's like, let's move on. Let's move on.
So
It's amazing.
yeah, I got to watch the full interview, though. I've only seen that clip so far.
It's amazing. Very cool.
So Riley Gaines, the All-American swimmer from the University of Kentucky, had sharp words for President Biden. So she was forced to swim against Leah Thomas. She's really high ranking. I think she was number 1
Yeah.
in that division until Leah came along, and then she tied with Leah Thomas, and they had only 1 trophy, and they had Leah hold it
Yep.
for the photos. And that was just like, one of the many issues in that whole unfairness. But let's see what she said to President Biden. She's against Biden trying to change Title IX because all these states are banning trans women to compete in women's sports, as they should. I even saw Caitlyn Jenner tweeting in support of Riley.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see more of that, like more people who were in that world or more people who are trans who are going to speak out against
Still
this.
acknowledge biological reality.
Yeah.
Now, what's Biden trying to do with Title IX? Is he
So
going to try to make
Title
it
IX
overarching? Like, because I mean, Title IX is the non-discrimination. But
Well, I think it's like whatever you provide for men, you have to provide for women. So like having men compete on swimming teams for women kind of like nullifies Title IX in my understanding of it. But I think they want to add a clause that
trans
probably
clause.
allows anyone to not be discriminated by their identity.
Yeah. There's been an ongoing battle over whether Title IX, the sex discrimination clause, applies to gender identity also. And it shouldn't because it seems like indirect contradiction to protecting sexual discrimination, basically.
Yeah. And I'm even worried about when they say, oh, if you transition before the age of 14, then it's okay. You can compete on female sports. It's like, well, why are we letting 14-year-olds transition or like pushing them into that? And I would just say never. Like, we don't need trans women to have the right. Like, you don't have the right to do everything you want to do. And you don't have the right to join the military. Many, many people are not eligible to join the military. So, like, you don't have the right to compete in women's sports if you're a biological man.
Yeah, and then there was also this account where she was speaking at, what was it? Was it Berkeley last week? She was speaking somewhere, and after she spoke out against this, she says that a transgender person, a man in a dress, assaulted her, and then they had to keep her in a secure location for several hours before the police escorted her out. Her account was after the event, almost as soon as it finished, it was as if the floodgates opened and I was rushed. People from outside the classroom rushed in, they flickered the lights off, they stormed the podium, and they were pushing and shoving and hitting. And I was supposed to meet with the head of campus police a half hour before the event to discuss an exit strategy if this happened, but the police never showed up to meet. And so I had no idea there was even police in the room. So at this moment, I feared for my life. It's so chilling to know that these people want to do to you, and what they're willing to do to you. At this point, an undercover police officer grabbed me, which I truly didn't want to follow her at the time because I didn't really believe she was the police, but she was saying, come with me, and I didn't have much of an option.
Sounds scary.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, another example of the sort of the trans community rising up in violence right now because of the frustration here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the New Zealand strongest man identifies as a woman in global weightlifting competition. So I think he won or scored really highly in the strongest man competition and then walked right on over and competed as a woman.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And they let him
great.
because they have to.
And he's doing it to troll the whole idea.
He's doing
That's
it.
fantastic.
So he just beat.
Yeah. New Zealand's strongest man identified.
Wow, he's 52 and he's the strongest man in the world.
Dale Shepard.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Says he's been weightlifting for over 4 decades and participating in competitive weightlifting events since 2016. The Global Powerlifting Committee of New Zealand, one of 2 government bodies for powerlifting, told Shepard he was ineligible to compete in the women's category as he does not meet the criteria for transgender athletes. I'm pro-transgender having their own class to compete in. I want them to win medals. I want them to participate in the sport. I've got nothing against them. I'm pro-biological women not having to compete against transgender, in parentheses. It says women, so he probably said males or some accurate term.
Transgender people.
Like, why is participating in sports a right all of a sudden? Like, why can't you just participate in your biological sex category? Like, you can participate.
Why do they have to ignore the fact that they have an advantage?
And why do you need your own class? Like, that would be like 5 people.
Yeah.
You know, if being
I think
gender
you should
dysphoric
just have
is
to
so
compete
rare.
based on your biological sex. It doesn't make sense that there's...
Well, and I think they should have. Maybe they should have their own class, but it's just nobody's going to
Is
watch
there
it.
enough people?
First of all,
Yeah.
I would
there's going to
probably
be
watch
4
it.
people. There's going to be
Not
4
gonna
people. I wouldn't watch it.
I don't know.
And what the whole transgender athlete debate shows is there's this constant refrain from the left that it's the right and the people who oppose transgender ideology that don't understand the difference between sex and gender. But these sort of debates show that it's that side that's trying to conflate the two. Because if you just want to like dress up like a woman or project the opposite gender, you're free to do that. Some people think it's weird. Some people, they'll have their opinions on it. But
I personally think
you
it's
are
weird.
free to do that.
Yeah.
But what they want is if they project the other gender, then it makes them magically the opposite sex. And the whole reason that these categories are different is because of sexual differences, not gender differences. It's
Right.
your hormones, it's your DNA, it's your muscle mass, it's your bone structure.
Women are banned from competing in women's sports if they take testosterone. You know, you can't take performance enhancing drugs, but that's literally what you are fueled on if you're a man.
You don't see a lot of women doing it the other way. So you don't see like women competing in the male division. Or women that are transitioning into manhood.
I imagine that there probably are, but they never make it high enough for it to be controversial. It's they transition and then they finish 400th where they were before.
Right.
You know?
Well, if you think that it's probably not even the best women that are doing it either. It's like, you know, it's probably like the second-rate women too. You know, they just want some attention.
Well, I wonder if they're like, are they trying for figure skating or something they'd have an advantage in?
There is that figure skater.
But that was a male to female.
Yeah, but
that's male to
I'm
female.
talking about
And then he-
female
and then
to
he
male.
fell down. He
He didn't even know how to skate.
He couldn't get back up.
He didn't know how to
No,
skate.
I don't know.
I skate better than
It was
that
like
guy.
a parody of...
Right?
It literally looked like an SNL sketch. It was just...
Yes, yeah.
Oh my goodness. It was so awkward.
Now, some other LGBT news. Disney has a Pride Night. Now, it's the first ever Disneyland After Dark Pride Night is coming to Disneyland during Pride Month in June. This separately ticketed event celebrating the LGBTQIA plus community and allies will have themed entertainment, Disney characters, specialty menu items, and more.
I really don't want to go to that.
You don't?
It's all colorful.
I just think it sounds like it's going to be a little too weird for me. I'm just going to say it out loud.
So LGBTQ officially added IA. So LGBT.
That's been there for a long time.
Plus?
There's
IA plus has been on
And there's
there for a
ones
long
that
time.
have 2 eyes in it now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it grows every day.
How can you have a plus?
This just sounds to me like it sounds to me like a party in West Hollywood with Disney characters at it.
Yeah. It says, among the special event experiences, there will be a Pride Night cavalcade, an Ohana dance party in Tomorrowland featuring Stitch, a Pride Night dance club at the Rivers of America, and a country line dancing event at the Golden Horseshoe. Plus, there will be plenty of photo opportunities. Why am I? It sounds like we're doing an ad for Disney's Gay Pride Night. I'm going to stop reading this.
Does Mickey
Sounds
identify?
like we're
Mickey,
just like-
Mickey and Minnie in lingerie.
To get your tickets, go to disney.com/gay night or whatever.
I'm very curious to see how this goes. But it's not for kids. It's just for adults.
I think what I saw is they said it was one of those things like for all ages. Like I
it looks
imagine
like
it'll
a
be a lot of
special
adults, but
ticketed event. Yeah.
the thing is, you know, if lots of people boycott and don't want to go, the lines might be pretty good for the rides though. So maybe I will
Maybe
go.
we should go.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should go. That's like I wrote
Wear
Space
our
Mountain
Babylon
10
t-shirts.
times.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're gonna love us.
Yeah, they
I'm gonna
would.
dress up like the Bee. All right, so here's another story: $787 million dollars settlement reached between Fox News and Dominion Voting Systems. The $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit argued that Fox News defamed Dominion Voting and insinuating that their systems were not secure enough to prevent tampering in the 2020 election. Fox News admitted that certain claims on the network went too far and settled out of court amicably. Well, amicably.
I was actually disappointed that they settled and didn't fight this because I think it's risky just because of, you know, the political ties and depending on, you know, the judge and the jury and how they rule on this. But CNN even posted an article listing the most supposedly inflammatory statements that Fox News made. What they did is they had on people like Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani who were promoting this conspiracy theory, and the host would have them on. I don't necessarily think that means the news organization itself is responsible for promoting the conspiracy theory. There's only a few little lines from the hosts where they kind of acknowledge or agree with what was said in a sort of passive way. And when you compare that to what CNN and MSNBC and all these others did with Russian collusion and Jussie Smollett and all these other Covington Catholic and Kyle Rittenhouse and all these stories, they've lied about all this stuff for years. It seems like I wish Fox would have fought this because I think it does. It's a sort of gray area as to whether I think they were actually promoting the conspiracy theory or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Fox News goes too far too.
Yeah.
So
I don't
like
disagree
either.
with that.
Like,
But I think it's weird to hold them over the fire and, you know, act like other news organizations aren't doing it, or that you can't have on, that you can't interview crazy people who say crazy things.
Yeah.
well, maybe I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'd like for both news stations to be both because you know there's only two to be like held accountable for what they say.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just call a MAGA kid racist, and you can't say that the voting systems are fraud without having to back up your claims.
Yeah.
I don't know. I watched, I don't think this is on here, but there was a couple who they brought their baby into the hospital. I forget how old the baby is. And they realized, they did a scan and they realized that the baby had a fractured rib that had healed over. So the hospital reported the parents for child abuse or suspected child abuse. The police come to take the kids away from the parents and they don't have any paperwork. So they really don't explain like, okay, are the kids taken away or what happened to the baby? And then Fox interviews the parents.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, you poor souls, you poor, like, can we find out what happened to the baby though? Like they just completely glanced over that. It's not normal for a baby to have their ribs fractured, according to
But it's also
Google.
not necessarily abuse. So
But find that out before you're going to have the
Facts
parents
come in first.
come on your show talking about how they're victims. Like, can we first find out if they're child abusers? It was so strange. And then they were saying, oh, they're discriminated against because they're Mormons. And then the news anchor kept going on and on about how, like, oh, you guys are just so good with your faith. You're so good with your faith. And you're being discriminated against. It's like, well, how were they discriminated against for being Mormon? And what part of Mormonism are they? You know, like, what if they're the cult part of Mormonism?
the weird part.
And they're child abusers. It's like, first find out who you're having on. Yeah, so
That goes both ways too. I mean, they have people on CNN all the time that they don't vet.
Yeah.
So I don't know, news organizations.
And I don't look at these stories because before they come up here, I'm probably saying misinformation every single one of these stories.
I
but
said
we're
a bunch of crap.
Making it
satire,
up as
so
I go, yeah.
I said a bunch of crap earlier that I regret.
I always
so.
know parts of the stories, and then I'm trying to catch up with the rest of it as we're talking about it. So, here's
you want to
another-
learn about this one?
Yeah, I have heard a little bit about this one. So the U.S. arrested 2 people for setting up a Chinese secret police station in New York in Chinatown.
Wow.
The FBI arrested 2 Chinese spies that were operating an illegal secret police station above a noodle restaurant in Manhattan. A human
It's always
rights
above
group,
a noodle restaurant.
a human rights group published a report last year that estimates there are over 100 of these secret police stations staffed by the Chinese Communist Party worldwide, tasked with spying on Chinese nationals around the world. The New York Post says there are at least 7 of these in the USA. And then, what I heard about is I guess they exist to sort of intimidate Chinese people living in the United States and around the world to kind of stay loyal to the Chinese government and
There's
live
one
by
in
their
LA.
laws. Yeah. A nonprofit that previously exposed the Chinese police station busted by the FBI last week alleges there are more in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Houston, as well as in cities in Minnesota and Nebraska, and a second NYC location. So if you're trying to reach the Chinese police, they still have an office open in New
Yeah,
York.
they do. The secret police is still there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so did you guys pick up your new Trump NFTs? There's one right there where it's Trump holding the Liberty Bell, the one with
Embracing
the crack,
it.
embracing it, holding it up with his arm, with his strong, powerful arms, with an amazing afterglow behind him. I guess that's like an alpine glow, like behind him, it's backlit.
Beautiful, yeah.
And really a beautiful. Real Donald Trump said, "I am pleased to inform you that due to the great success of my previously launched digital trading cards, we are doing it again. Series 2 available right now. Go to link in bio." And then he lifts his thing. We don't have to go there if you don't want to. Yeah. And I love this. Somebody said, I love how you're not using social media to fight the information war that's so desperately needed, but to sell more NFTs.
They're great. Here's one of him as Elvis with a guitar and the number 45 behind him.
He fought to get back on social media to do this.
Yeah.
I just think, yes, these are so crazy. It's such a crazy vanity project, and he's making so much bloody money doing it.
Yeah.
Is he in prison right now?
No.
Trump? No.
He's at
playing golf.
He's at Mar-a-Lago.
Playing golf in Florida.
What happened to the whole indictment?
So the indictment is like, so he was indicted, and now the trial isn't set to start until December. So it's just, he's now just indicted until December. And I'm sure his legal team will be filing to have the case dismissed between now and then. But yeah, it's just kind of in limbo until then.
Oh, they're going to find
His
something
NFTs
else.
are going to be audited now too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just going to keep going after him for whatever they can find.
This is what he should have given. Dude, how funny it would have been if to keep Stormy Daniels quiet, he had just given her a digital drawing of him as a superhero. Here's this NFT.
He's
you
never
think-
been that thin.
Do you think Stormy Daniels is politically motivated, or do you think she just wants money? What do you think?
I think she's like the porn star mindset of just being an attention whore who's like, however I can get fame or money.
Friends, anyone who thinks they won't need emergency food isn't paying attention. Every day the headlines get worse and worse. Is the unthinkable next? It pays to prepare. That's why I recommend that you stock up on emergency food right away. You never know when the next shoe will drop, and when it does, emergency food will be hard to find. So get yours now while it's on sale. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and check out their popular 3-month emergency food kit. Right now you can save $200 per kit. Each kit gives you a wide variety of delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks, providing over 2,000 calories a day. That's a lot of calories. Optimal strength and energy. Act now and claim your $200 savings per kit. You'll sleep better knowing your family won't suffer if the worst ever happens. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and you'll enjoy free shipping too. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Sizzler comments.
So we made a Sizzler intro song on the final Sizzler Fact. It was put out as a standalone on the main Babylon Bee channel, And then we also used it at the end of our Chat GPT sketch. And here's some of the comments that we got. Live Life, Taste Death wrote, Kirk Cameron eats at Sizzler? Well, okay, I'm in.
Let's see. PZ said, I have ate at Sizzler Steakhouse since I was old enough to chew in 5 different states. They make me glad that God made cows and steak sauce. It's a good one.
Tom Nova said, Sizzler cured my blindness.
Amazing.
Now you can type comments.
D. Charlesworth 1 wrote, I just watched a 4-minute, 30-minute song about Sizzler, a restaurant I've never been to in my life. Yeah, I'm crushing life.
You know, there was one comment that we got this week that's not in here. It was from, did we mention it last week? But it was from some of the people that own the largest franchise of Sizzler.
Oh, that's right.
And they are huge Babylon Bee fans. And I think he said he's been in the business since the 1960s. So he's like, to give you an idea of how old I am, it's like, you know, I think I've been doing it since 1960 something. And he said he's a massive fan. He loves the remake of the Choices video. And he gave us his phone number so we can call him. So I think we should call him.
All of our Sizzler dedication is finally paying off.
No, it's just good.
It's finally amounting to something.
Well, we did sort of, we sort of are tongue in cheek about Sizzler. Like, we like Sizzler, but, you know, but it's one of those things where they did not take it personally and they took it. It was a really good joke. So.
And now people know it's a remake. So you can go out there and watch the original.
Beautiful version. Yeah.
Amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, in both instances, the amount of dedication and time that went into those commercials is amazing. It's like unmatched. It's incredible. So, anyway.
It's very long.
I would say that's a work of art, not expression.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like a drag queen.
I mean,
I
art
think
is
anything
subjective.
that's a result of a creative process is art. I think
call
that's
it art.
all. The basis for something is art is that it's the result of a creative process. Now, that doesn't mean I like drag queens or support what they do. You can say something's bad art or it's art with a bad message or art for a bad purpose. But I still think it's art.
There's like shows, like drag shows competition for makeup and stuff.
Well, I think
I'd say that's
again
in a category.
I think the philosophical conversation about what is art. I think that is an important conversation.
Yeah.
And I do think that art has to do with some particular kind of skill or training that is put into a creative endeavor.
Yes.
So like if you look at drag queens, so maybe they go to drag school and learn how to do it and they spend years and years honing this craft, or maybe they just like really have this innate desire to look like a woman on stage and they get some kind of sexual pleasure out of it or something like that.
Well, that's besides the point. I mean,
Yes, they're still
if they're good at
their
makeup,
dress, their makeup, their performance. And again, I don't think it's great, but it is art.
they're good at that.
So you would say-
sexual dancing.
You would
In
say
a
it's
functional
bad art.
Yeah.
You'd say it's bad art. I would say it's
Except this one who's fantastic. No, I'm kidding.
Lady Maga. No, I think I would say it's just bad expression. Like I don't think it's I would make a distinction.
I think a lot of art is bad art. Like modern art is bad art. I'd write off a lot.
I don't know
of things.
that
No, I think
modern
still
art's
art.
very good.
bad
I think
art. Yeah, I would say it's yeah.
But speaking
You
of,
might be right.
but now let's go to some real good art.
Yeah.
The Babylon Bee sketch of the
Yes.
week.
It's the Babylon Bees Sketch of the Week.
I love this sketch.
So we sort of broke into some new territory here with our jokes. We did a joke about gender surgery.
Wow, we've never talked about that before.
Try something new. So this is a girl too young for tattoo offered irreversible gender surgery.
Yeah, both of the
so-
actors in this were great.
Yes. Yeah. She's
Hunter in particular is really great.
Yeah, she's 17. She was awesome
Yep.
at this.
He's a wonderful actor, and Matt Larson is
great.
also really good. They both did good. Matt, switched on a dime. He went from being this kind of kindly old pawn shop owner to a real psycho in about a split.
He's got a little like American Psycho vibes there in the picture.
When he said, there's this one line where he says, "Take the pills," where it looks like he just took a hit of cocaine, and then he said that, and it was amazing. Like he did a great job. But she's in particular, like the whole button at the end. Hunter did a great job.
My favorite is the Bill Cosby reference in it.
Those are
that
great.
Just made me.
The Yee restaurant reference is great too. Yeah, I love it.
banger of the week.
Chicago mayor warns that if local Walmart locations close, people will have fewer places to shoplift.
Guys, it's really important.
Bomb of the week.
Brave adventurer discovers long-lost article hidden beneath labyrinth of ads, pop-ups, and privacy policies.
I found that one relatable.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
It's time for the weekly news with Adam Yetzer.
On Tuesday, a toddler crawled through the White House security fence, triggering a security alert before he was removed by the Secret Service. But don't worry, agents made sure the confused little guy in the diaper was safe while the toddler was removed outside. Several weeks of heavy rain caused a massive lake to form over roads, houses, and farmland in central California. Luckily, California homes have a nylon fly and plastic ground tarp to keep them dry. Hundreds of rowdy teenagers rampaged through Chicago on Saturday night, committing theft, assault, vandalism, and firing guns. But it is nice to see them playing outside with their friends instead of sitting inside staring at their phones. While discussing his ongoing feud with Disney, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis joked that he might build a prison next to Disney World. He added, "And this time a dog won't be holding keys right outside the cell." The FBI charged several Chinese agents for operating a secret Chinese police station in New York City. The FBI identified the Chinese police by their weird handcuffs. R. Kelly is appealing his federal sex crimes conviction, claiming that the government didn't prove his guilt. No, videos, testimony, and his own lyrics did that. UPenn's Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies program hosted a radical playdate event where kids ages 5 to 9 were invited to explore their skin color and gender identity. What is happening in the world? When I was a kid, a radical playdate meant you were having a Ninja Turtles pizza party at the bowling alley. This week, Shaq was served in a lawsuit for endorsing Sam Bankman-Fried's cryptocurrency scam. Hopefully, Shaq's defense will be a slam dunk and not a free throw. A team of scientists in New Mexico have been turning dead birds preserved by taxidermy into drones that can still fly. Their research will be used to help Biden run again in 2024. That's it for weekly news. To see more, check out my YouTube channel and come see me live. I'll be at Domaine Terrion Winery in Pennsylvania on April 29th and at Universal Bar and Grill in North Hollywood on May 1st.
Man, Adam, that was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Kyle and I talked to Jinger Duggar Vuolo. Her new book is Becoming Free Indeed, My Story of Disentangling Faith from Fear. So we talked about not, what's the word again? Deconstructing, but disentangling and how those things are different and important. Where you can pick apart things that are heresy that you were taught, but you don't have to throw out God with that.
The baby with the bathwater.
The baby with the bathwater.
I think you said her last name wrong.
Jesus.
I'm just going to point that out. Isn't it
Duggar.
Vuolo?
Vuolo? I only practiced the first name.
That's right.
So
you got the first part
our
right.
chances-
We all agree on Duggar.
You got Jinger.
Thing.
You got Jinger Duggar right.
No, it's
We all
Ginger.
got-
You just
We all got Duggar.
Vuolo.
Vuolo.
She has two last names, so I got one of them right.
Here's the interview, and Vuolo.
And now, Alliance Defending Freedom brings you lawyer jokes. What did the lawyer name his daughter? Sue. That's funny. What's not funny is being sued for declining to design a cake. Colorado cake artist Jack Phillips is once again being unjustly targeted for exercising his freedom of speech. He politely declined to create a custom cake celebrating a gender transition because its message contradicts his deeply held beliefs. The result? He's being sued. Again. And the Colorado Court of Appeals just ruled against him. Again. ADF is appealing this decision. After winning his 2018 Supreme Court case and enduring a decade of legal battles, ADF continues to defend Jack free of charge. They're able to do this because of the generous support of freedom lovers like us. Support ADF's work and learn more about Jack's case at adflegal.org/Jack. Jack risks losing his freedom. Don't desert him now. While my puns are funny, the case is no laughing matter. Go to adflegal.org/Jack and donate to protect freedom today.
And now it's time for another interview on the Babylon Bee podcast.
Well, thanks for coming on, Ginger. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, we wanted to start out by reading a Babylon Bee headline that we wanted you to confirm or deny. Duggar family found in violation of ban on large gatherings. And there's a cop rounding up your family there. Did that happen during the pandemic, or?
That's so funny. Oh, I can't confirm or deny, you know?
Sad. Well, we were hoping for confirmation, but.
Did you have any issue? Did you have any issues during the pandemic just going to a park together and there's 20 of you?
Well, I don't live near my family, so I didn't get to see them too much during that time, sadly.
Well, you're here to talk about your book. We've got Becoming Free Indeed, which just came out, and it's a bestseller. I read it. I think it's awesome. So it's such a cool story. And you talk about this concept of disentangling your faith as distinguished from what is the big
deconstructing.
That's the big thing everybody is doing right now. Is deconstructing.
Yeah, that's what my old youth group leader is doing.
We all know somebody, a favorite Christian singer or or a pastor from our past or something. So do you want to talk about the distinction a little bit that you made between disentanglement and deconstruction?
Yeah, I think that it's so sad to see how many people have grown up in a setting where there's a teacher who claims to speak for God but doesn't, or maybe they were harmed within Christianity or a church. And because of that, their only reaction that they can find that they say is needful and helpful is for them to deconstruct their faith, which is tearing it down to the studs, never to rebuild their faith ever again. And they said that's the only path forward, how they can heal. But I wanted to offer, even just to show people that, I walked through a lot of that same journey of confusion within what I was taught from a very young age, following a teacher who claimed to have an element of truth that no one else had. And Bill Gothard's teachings, this man, his teachings were very formidable in my understanding of the Bible. And so I kind of mixed his teachings with the Word of God. So there was a lot to, as I would say, disentangle there, because it was hard to be able to see, okay, this text that he's saying means, this is not what God's word actually says. So that's been the journey I've been on the past nearly 7 years of disentangling, which is like, if you get putty stuck in your hair, you can just cut all of your hair off and be done with it. Or you can take the time to pick out the putty out of your hair, even though it's a painful process, it's a slow process. But I see that as needful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if faith will easily grow back like hair will. But
that's a good point. But no, it's just, but just that whole picture for me, because it is something that I feel like so many people think that their only option is to just to like throw everything off. And what I've been on this journey of disentangling is realizing, okay, God's word, it does speak to our lives in many ways, but then there are also areas where the scripture is silent, where I feel like Bill Gothard was very comfortable speaking on and putting burdens on people that they could never carry. And so that would be just through man-made rules and his principles that were a guarantee for success. He said, if you follow my 7 basic principles, your life will be a success. Your kids will love Jesus and they'll be spared from a lot of harm, and you'll have financial health and physical health. But if you don't, then your life will be one disaster after another.
Yeah, it struck me, and I think you might have said this in the book, it struck me that it was kind of a parallel to the prosperity gospel in a lot of ways. Because it was, if you do X, God will bless you in this way, And I think probably people who follow Gothard would condemn the prosperity gospel in word, but the way that they actually live is very much similar to the prosperity gospel in that way. What is the heart of Gothard's teachings for those who are unfamiliar with that?
Yeah, so Bill Gothard, he came on the scene in the 60s and 70s offering people the answers to life's problems. And he started a basic youth conflict seminar, which at that time, I think with the sexual revolution, a lot of parents were like freaking out that their kids were going to get involved in sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So he said, well, I have this success path for you that will guard your kids from rebelling against you, and it will give them good morals. And it started out like with good character. And he said that way they're not rejecting authority. But the way he kept the kids there was by fear manipulation, superstition, and control, instead of based on like teaching kids the word of God and saying, okay, we want their hearts to be transformed by the gospel, which transforms your heart from the inside out in salvation. And then your hearts long to love Jesus, and you want to desire to obey him and follow his word, to live holy lives, to glorify God. But for him, it was just steps to where anybody, didn't matter if you're Mormon, if you were Catholic, Jehovah's Witness, you could follow these steps and have what he would say, gaining you favor with God. So there was a big disconnect there where I would have looked at teachers who would say anything like that and say, okay, well, you can't be right with God if you're not, if you don't believe in the fundamental truths of Christianity, which is salvation is not by works. But for some reason, I allowed Bill Gothard's teachings to become like Bible to me.
Did Bill Gothard have a wife or kids?
Bill Gothard was never married, never had kids, but he was the expert on it.
Yeah, I'm an expert on having kids because I don't have any, so you should listen to.
I need to listen to you. I definitely need to listen to you.
The path. Do you remember can you give an example of one of his teachings?
Yeah, he had many that I would look at and say are so harmful. One of them, as far as it comes like down to like salvation, he would always have steps for everything. So steps to gain a clear conscience, steps for getting out of debt, steps for honoring God in your dating relationship or whatever. But one of these was a step he gave a woman to come to Jesus. And so he said, before you can come to Jesus, you need to do these 3 steps, and then that will get you in the right place, because you can't bring Jesus into your mess. That way, if you want to know Jesus, she said, do you have a way? And he said, I have a way. These 3 steps. So follow these steps, clean up your life before you come to Jesus, and then he can come into your heart.
So don't don't have the Holy Spirit to help you.
And that for me was enough to say, okay, because he would go into like generational curses. You need to break this generational curse. You need to do this and that before you come to Jesus. That's not how it works. That is opposite of the gospel of Jesus Christ, which transforms your heart. In salvation, it's a work that Jesus does. It's a work that God works in your heart and he saves you. And Bill Gothard would give you steps that could gain you favor with God.
Wow. Well, it seems like this kind of environment would cause a lot of people to fall away. I mean, has that been your experience? Is that there's a lot of people that you grew up with in the Gothard, I don't know if you want to say cult or the Gothard movement?
I think you could say cult if his claim is that you could be of any faith and earn good favor with God. I think that could be a cult.
So yeah, I would say definitely cult-like in nature. There were so many things that I saw within that setting. I mean, for one, like if you went to like a Bill Gothard conference, a lot of the people, most everyone there looked the same, talked the same, had all the same secondary and third issue gospel things. Like they would all like say, this is gospel for me, or this is a conviction for me. And they all had the same convictions on everything because it was all prescribed for them by Bill Gothard. So whether that was courtship standards, like we're not going to hold hands until we're engaged, we're not going to kiss until we're married, we're going to always be with the chaperone, or we're going to wear skirts that are this long, no sleeveless shirts. You know, you can roll your sleeves up in the sun, but don't you buy a sleeveless shirt. Like all these people had these same rules. And I was like, where'd you get that from? Music with drums is horrible. Unless it's like marching music, maybe drums for that. But other than that, you are sinning, you're bringing damnation or destruction on yourself if you are doing any of these things that Bill Gothard prescribed for you. Should not be done.
Wow. I mean, as you kind of explore what it means to be free in Christ, you find yourself, I don't know, like, is it still weird for you to not wear a denim skirt that's like down to your ankles all the time?
No, it's not weird. I don't miss it. I think a couple days ago, Jeremy asked me, so what was it like the first time you ever wore pants? Do you remember that? And I was like, that's such an interesting question. I don't even know. Like, I think I was just thinking, oh man, it's going to be so much easier to work out, so much easier to ride a bike. All the things like, I'm telling you, it's crazy. Yeah. So it was more in that.
Did your skirts have pockets and now your pants?
No, most of the time they didn't. And that's the thing. I was like, okay, that's kind of crazy. So there were a lot of those funny, like, things that it didn't really affect me. Once I saw something wasn't in the word of God, I was going to I wanted to live my life according to the Bible. And so I don't want to have it just based on like a tradition or something. So that like standard wasn't a real standard. So it just fell off. And then I was like, I want to live in a way that glorifies God. I still want to be modest. But what does that mean? So started to re-examine some of that.
Yeah, it strikes me as so similar to the Apostle Paul's story, where he was so proud of everything that he was as a, of the tribe of Benjamin, and, this ultra spiritual Jew who followed all the exact rules. And then he says, I now count it all as dung for the for the sake of Christ. And I think that is very similar to your story.
Yeah. And knowing Jesus, knowing Christ Jesus, for the sake of knowing Christ Jesus. And that's something being found in him, not having righteousness of my own, because I think within that system, so many people would have this facade of righteousness. So if you did enough outward standards, you could look at these families and say, okay, their kids are perfect. I'm so embarrassed that my kids aren't perfect like them. Like, meaning they dress right. They don't listen to this kind of music. They have perfect smiles on their faces at all times. They're always rejoicing. And you'd look at that and say, this is this model family. Well, sadly, so many of those model families broke down and fell. The dads ran off, or there was abuse within the families that was never known. And so on the outside, you could say, oh, wow, look at them. But then inside, I think what this produces is hearts that are not changed from the inside out. It's like if we can put on enough good standards to make us feel like we're in a good place, that's enough. But then these kids leaving this system are hardened against anything relating to Christianity at all, because they have been sold a false view of Christianity to start with.
One thing that struck me when I read the book is that you have a lot of love for your family and people who are still trapped in that system. And, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would want to read an expose on the Duggar family, or, some intensely personal screed against that. But you managed to pretty objectively criticize the teaching without totally slamming the people that are in that movement. And you seem to have a lot of love and grace for them. How did you manage to separate those two things?
Well, I just say, I think it is the grace of God at work, because I think that a lot of kids have been so hurt by it that it's hard to be able to see objectively like what's going on. For me, I feel like for me to be able to process and to be able to categorize all of that, I can see how I'm grateful my parents told me that salvation wasn't by works and how to come to Jesus. And at the same time, I saw under very harmful teaching, which taught the exact opposite. So I can look at that and see, okay, I remember how it was to be in those teachings. I was in those teachings for so many years, in my most formative years. So I can see how you can believe it. And my heart is just to be able to share in this book my journey of how I've come to see the beauty and the grace of Jesus in a whole new light, where I'd never seen it before. And that's my hope. And that's the tone that I hope comes across, because I would want for any loved ones or friends in that setting to be able to come out and to see the beauty, the grace, the freedom in Christ that we have, and not relying on all of these other things to keep you from falling, keep you from sinning, but to trust in Jesus, to trust in his word, that it's sufficient to keep us in Christ, and that it even to show our kids, like, we're not going to put up all these outward things to like be so, we're not going to start a commune. We're not going to guard you from all these influences that we feel like we have to like be so isolated to be safe, but just to realize, okay, we want our kids, we want to show them the loveliness of Christ. We want to teach them about the holiness of God, about the love and grace of Jesus. And so I think there's a balance in that. And that's something that I would hope that they could see, even in this journey that I've been on, that you can disentangle truth from error. You don't need to throw off your faith. And some people may have thought that, I was leaving Jesus by leaving Gothard's teachings, because they would equate that with the gospel. So I can see how they could see it that way, because I was there. So that's where my heart is, coming from somebody who's coming out of it. I know the appeal of it. I know the community that's offered to you, but I also see the far greater reward is knowing Jesus for who he is in his word.
Do you have any cool stories of anyone who has messaged you or told you or posted online that they've read your book, and then they sort of having like a clear view of the legalism in their faith, or they're going to disentangle and not, deconstruct.
Yes, so many. I was encouraged by so many stories. One in particular was somebody who had messaged me and said that they were harmed within the church. And this was the first time that they've, after reading my book, that they've been able to pick up their Bible again and see the beauty of Jesus. And that was my heart, because in writing this book, even as hard as it was, I saw it's needful. Because if one person comes to Jesus because of maybe the pain or hardship I've walked through, and also pain or hardship, like even in writing this book, thinking I'm losing friends and potentially and loved ones, it's worth it, because the harm within the church, sadly today, sorry, now I'm tearing up. The harm within the church today is it's sad how many people have been hurt by it, but will reject it. And I just want them to know Jesus. And so that's where it encouraged me to hear that, like, praise God for that. If only one person comes to know Jesus for who he truly is, it's been all worth it, everything.
Oh, that's so great. Well, best of luck on the book. We want our fans to go check it out. Go to any bookstore online, in person. Becoming Free Indeed. It's out now. Jinger, do you have any final words for anybody who's still trapped in systems of legalism, whether that's Gothardism or something else?
Yeah, my heart would just be that they would run to Jesus, because people will let you down inside the church, outside the church, but Jesus will never leave or forsake his children. So run to him in repentance and faith, and just call out to him, even in their brokenness, your confusion. He is there. And so that would be my plea and my hope for anyone who is still stuck in that, or if you're trusting in your legalism or in man-made rules to gain you favor with God. It's just not the case. So the same answer, run to Jesus.
It's a lot harder to run to Jesus if you're wearing a long denim skirt.
Can't ride your bike in those
Can't
skirts.
ride the bike to Jesus.
I remember that as a kid, getting it stuck in the chain. Then it destroys your skirt.
Oh my gosh. I have no experience in this area.
I could show you. We could do that.
Do a demonstration. Well, thanks so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk with us, Jinger. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, Kyle here. We want you not to be limited by restrictive networks when it comes to choosing the healthcare providers and treatments that are right for you. There is another way. Samaritan Ministries connects hundreds of thousands of Christians across the nation who help pay one another's medical bills, all without the use of insurance. Consider this. A medical emergency arises. You don't have to check and see what hospital is in your network or be concerned about the emergency room doctor being in network too. Oh no. You go to the hospital you choose and don't give a second thought as to what's in network and what's not. Because with Samaritan Ministries, you're in control of your healthcare. After receiving care, you send your medical bills to Samaritan Ministries, and they notify fellow members to pray for you and send money directly to you to help you pay those bills. And when another member has a medical need, you'll do the same for them. That's what biblical healthcare sharing looks like. Check it out today at samaritanministries.org/thebabylonbee. That's samaritanministries.org/thebabylonbee.
Travis's Game Corner. Movie reviews.
Hi everyone, welcome to a special edition of Travis's Game Corner. In my game corner, well, this isn't really my corner. This is Willis's corner, but whatever. But today we're going to talk about the Super Mario Brothers movie, slashing box office records, breaking them. So, Bucky, what do you think? It's pretty good, right? I mean, I liked it. I'm going to tell you exactly what I told my mom. 5,000 thumbs up when she asked me how it was. So that was cool. Hi,
Travis.
Oh, what? Did you let her in here?
I hope you don't mind, but I heard you're going to be discussing the Super Mario Brothers movie today, and
yeah,
I would love to
plan.
I would love to discuss it with you.
How did you hear about that? Are you with the FBI?
No.
Oh, good. Okay, I trust you.
Okay.
So, what did you think about this incredible film with mushrooms in it? Trust the Fungus.
So it sounds like you liked it.
Yes, I did. I thought Bob Hoskins was really great in it, and John Leguizamo was okay, but he doesn't have a mustache, which I thought was weird.
Who are you talking about? I don't even think I know the cast by heart.
Well, Bob Hoskins is Mario,
And John
No, not the one from the 90s. The animated one that just came out with Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy.
Isn't Bob Hoskins animated? He's not alive anymore, so he had to have been.
Are you actually referring to the live action one?
I went to a movie theater and Bob Hoskins was there in a movie. And he was like, it's me, Mario. I'm from Brooklyn. That's what he was like.
I'm not sure we're talking about the same movie.
No, well, what movie are you talking about?
I'm talking about the is it called?
Super Mario
Bros.
Yeah, same movie.
Okay. Anyway.
John Leguizamo, go.
Okay. I loved the film.
Okay.
I have many thoughts. I took notes on what I wanted to discuss today.
Sure.
I have been playing Mario since I was 9 or 10, and a film like this is not easy to nail. You know, they had all this pressure. I expected the movie to be terrible.
Right.
I was going to see it anyway. And I thought, if this movie is terrible, I will never stop loving Mario because the brand has been with me my whole life. And I just have played all the games, every single game. And, you know, if Mario can survive the Rabbids game, they can survive a bad film. The film blew me away.
Blew you away?
Blew me away.
Gross.
It was so good. I saw it twice.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few categories.
Twice?
I saw it twice.
Which theater?
The first one I saw at AMC.
Uh-huh.
And the second one I saw when I was in Florida.
So 2 different theaters.
2 different theaters.
Wow.
And it was even better the second time.
Is that because it was in Florida?
No, definitely not.
No, it's because of the movie.
In spite of it being in Florida, it was still better the second time.
Okay. I've only seen it 25 times, but I mean, I didn't go to a theater. It was at home. It was on Netflix.
No, that's the 90s version.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. That one's not on Netflix.
I haven't seen that one yet, but I learned about that after I saw the first one.
Oh, 5,000 thumbs up.
So you like that one. I heard that one was really bad.
No, it is terrible.
Oh, okay.
I saw it when I was in 4th or 5th grade.
You saw the old one, okay.
It came out a week before Jurassic Park. And I was like, this is the greatest movie ever. And it wasn't. It was just literally because it's Mario. And I was like, Mario, yay!
Yeah.
And I like Bob Hoskins. He's okay.
I can't wait to watch that one. Even if it's bad, like I said, I just like Mario-themed things. Because I think it's just such a... And I thought the movie did such an... This is going to have a lot of spoilers, by the way. So if you haven't seen it, watch the movie and come back and finish watching this full podcast. And the longer version on premium, babylonb.com/plans. We'll see you there.
Yeah, who are you talking to?
Them.
Oh.
Our friends.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You know, Willis and Wayne.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wayne does our graphics. Now, Wayne, you punch up in on me when I say that. Wayne does our graphics. Okay, cool.
What did you think about how true they stayed to the characters?
We're talking about the new movie.
The new one. We've always been talking about the new one.
The animated movie?
Yes.
With Chris Pratt.
Yes.
As Mario.
Yeah.
Where he says, like, it's me, Mario.
That's right.
Right. Actually, really quick, he actually did a really good job with the voice.
Yeah.
The whole time everyone was making fun of Chris Pratt because it does seem like odd casting, but I thought he did an awesome job.
I will say, regarding that point, I saw the trailer, and the trailer was bad. I was like, oh, this movie's gonna suck. Mm-hmm. You know, the trailer, it didn't suck. It took like the weakest parts of the movie, but I guess that was appealing to the youngest crowd, you know? The movie was so good, and I actually missed the intro. I was waiting for my pretzel bites or something. Oh, and the movie theater, AMC, they were selling mystery block popcorn tins.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, I'm still getting one. I don't care that it's like $20. And they were sold out. I was so bummed. Anyway, I missed the intro, so I didn't understand like why he wasn't talking in an Italian accent.
Oh, right.
Until I saw it the second time. So I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. That justifies that. Yeah, I thought the cast was incredible. And it was kind of a reveal at the end, finding out who voiced the actors and finding out Jack Black was Bowser, who I thought he did amazing.
He did. He just sounded like, that's Bowser.
Yeah, and he really just... They really did a great job personifying these characters and making them like relatable and human. And I think Bowser was my favorite character in the movie.
I was very related to the fact of how he tried to kidnap a woman and marry her. But
Yeah, that's very relatable.
I really liked how much they kept leaning into that though, where he's like,
Yeah.
no, I just want to marry her because she's beautiful and we're meant to be together. But he's just like very clearly.
And I loved how like his like underlings were like, yeah, she's definitely gonna say yes, and like they just kept like, don't kill me, Lord Bowser. Like she'll say yes, and that was really funny. I think Bowser's scenes were the funniest for sure, and I just really appreciated that they didn't put anything on the characters. They just let the characters already be who they were.
Yeah.
From game one, they just let them stay the same. And they just filled in the details of their backstory. And they kind of explained like how our world and this Mushroom Kingdom like blended together. And I thought that was really cool.
They did that in a better way than the live action movie
In the 90s
did.
one, yeah.
Oh man, that movie. But I really liked how we got to see him be a plumber for a little bit. And because in the games he doesn't do plumbing. So it's always been kind of a weird thing. Like, why is he a plumber? Why is this a thing?
Yeah,
but,
they made it. They really grounded it in reality to start, and I got emotional in a lot of places in the movie. You know, really learning that Mario is this brave older brother, and you know, knowing Luigi and his history with like the haunted mansion, he's kind of always like a little bit scared. Like they really developed that character as well, and he's the younger brother, and he's a little bit more naive. But Mario has to be brave for his younger brother.
You know, I think you bring up a good point because they did do a good job developing those characters. In a movie where everyone would have been like, you don't need to do character development. This is fine. Just jump on some turtles or whatever.
Yeah.
But they went above and beyond and actually made a good quality film.
Yeah.
And as far as staying true to those characters, I think they did a very good job with that. My one complaint would be maybe Donkey Kong, he kind of hated Mario at first, but then they were too much friends at the end. Not happy about that.
Interesting.
Donkey Kong should have been trying to destroy New York.
That's a really good point. I didn't really think about that. I did kind of think it was corny when he said it's on like Donkey Kong. I was like,
yes,
that's not a phrase that came from the game.
No.
That came from the culture reaction of the game. So I was kind of like, that's a little corny. That's interesting though. But ultimately, they were on the same team, you know, fighting against Bowser. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I thought it was cool when he took the fire flower and like, you know, turned flamey. I was like, oh, I've never seen that before. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, Mario was a real flamer.
Yeah.
In this movie,
no, Luigi, I thought, had a little... I kind of caught a little bit, because at the end, Princess Peach was like, you're so brave. I'm like... Mario's been carrying the team on his back the whole show, and you're going to compliment him because I was very proud of Luigi when he finally, you know, stood up and helped his brother at the end. But
so are you saying you saw a little just because he was a coward?
He was like, "That's my thing." When she said, "You're brave," and I was like, "Stunning and brave." Luigi is stunning and brave. But I asked, you know, my fiance, I was like, what did you think that they made Luigi gay? And he's like, no, I didn't catch that at all. I'm like,
I also did not.
He was kind of like a little effeminate, and he's like, no, I think he's just young and scared. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well,
that was me, because it's always on the mind now. Like, you know, so.
Well, that makes sense because he was scared like a woman.
You know, growing up, I did a focus group for a video game once, and they were talking about how women are portrayed in video games. And some people think that, you know, oh, well, they're trying to make women all big and strong now.
Yes.
Princess Peach has always been one of the strongest characters in the game. In the Super Mario Advance 2, which was originally called, I'm totally blanking on the name. It's like
Super Mario...
Doki
Doki Panic.
Doki Doki Panic. Yes, that was the original, right? They made it into a game, even though it wasn't.
The one where you pick up the vegetables and you throw them.
That's right, the turnips. They didn't have pipes in that one. She was one of the strongest characters in the game. She had the longest jump, and she could stay in the air for the longest. So then when she started getting kidnapped, I was like, wait a second. She could literally like leave Bowser anytime she wants. She could just hop right off. So I thought that her being such a brave character, I don't think she flinched once, you know, and she was very protective of her people, and I thought that was cool. And if anyone complains about her being, you know, tough, then I'm going to say, well, you don't know the lore of Mario then, because She's always been like super strong and super brave.
Right. Well, two things. One, Super Mario Brothers 2 is a dream. So her floating and stuff, it's
Really?
like Inception. Yes, it takes place in Subcon, which is the subconscious. The whole thing's a dream. And that's where
Really?
the Shy Guys live.
Well, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But you heard it here first.
I didn't know that. You're teaching me things today.
And she was still kidnapped in the first game, but she was also not in every castle. She's in one castle. I like that nod to that in the movie where the Toads are like, "Oh, your princess is in another castle."
Yeah,
and they're like trying to get rid of him, and it was just rude.
Yeah, I know, because in Super Mario 3, you're like, oh, I made it to the castle. Oh, she's in the other one. Oh, she's in the next one. That happens like 8 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got very emotional in a few spots, just seeing that the themes of bravery and heroism and loyalty and just doing the right thing, and when Mario's like, hey, my brother's lost, he's in Bowser's side of the kingdom. All right, well, we're going to go find him. It was just, these themes are timeless, and we needed a film like this. And also, I can't tell you the last time I have been to the movie theater. Actually, I can. The last time I went to a movie theater and was like, I'm going to go back and see that again, was Inception. And I think that was like 2011 or 2010 or something.
Ago.
Long time ago.
Well, that was the same thing because Leonardo DiCaprio was in Subcon fighting Shy Guys.
Right.
And you were like, I have to figure out why he's in Dream World.
Inception was a little bit like tougher to understand, but I was very intrigued and I thought the concept was so cool and the effects and everything. So I saw that movie 3 times in theaters. I will be going to see Mario for a 3rd time.
Wow.
It's just so good. I mean, this movie set the bar for decades to come.
Yeah.
People got to step it up. Like most of the stuff coming out of our culture today is trash.
Yeah.
The music that comes out of our culture today is trash. You're never going to hear, any of these TikTok songs at a wedding. You're just not. And I wanted to talk about the music and how they made this film so timeless.
Yeah.
They made this film for kids who love Mario or discovering the brand today. And they made it for the people who played it in the beginning.
Right.
And they had all the music kind of from the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, well,
and
but they
made
gave
it
it
so
like
timeless.
You're right, and they even had like a nod to the old Super Mario Brothers TV show with the theme song when the plumber commercial.
There's a TV show?
There was a TV show, a live action TV show, half animated called the Super Mario Super Show. And
I've never known this. Wow.
yeah, and it was hosted by a wrestler who played Mario, and he had a very thick Brooklyn type accent.
Wow.
And so the song in the beginning was like swing your arms from side to side, and then do the Mario. That was from their commercial for the Mario Brothers, but that was a reference to that show.
That doesn't surprise me because they honored all the themes from all the games, and when they, discovered certain power-ups, like they had those themes, those songs come in, and the orchestra was so incredible, and it was just so good.
Yeah, and I think
knocked it out of the park.
What you really drove home, I think, is that they respected the source material a lot.
Yeah.
They weren't just doing like a cash grab,
Right.
even though clearly they're making thousands of monies. But they respected it, and all the music from the game that's just done up with an orchestra, like you said, and then even though there's licensed music in there too, it's all like era appropriate, like for the 80s and maybe in the 90s. I don't know.
There was one from the 90s. I think it was the Beastie Boys song when they were like running through Brooklyn in the beginning.
Yeah,
That's a 90s song. But you're so right, and I think they totally respected the source material. I think that a lot of adaptation films, like from books to movies, the fans are always upset no matter what. Like Harry Potter fans, oh, well, this wasn't done right and that wasn't done right. I was ready to not like it because I didn't think the trailer did it justice.
Right.
And they could have totally butchered this film, and they not only met expectations, but they completely exceeded my expectations.
And despite what you said about Luigi, there is no gay stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's such a wholesome movie.
It's very wholesome.
It was a treat to take my children to see it.
Yeah. Total family appeal.
Yeah.
It was great. And I was thinking because my future in-laws, we played a little bit of Mario when we visited last time, and I thought like even they would love this movie.
Yeah.
I think even my parents who don't know anything about video games would enjoy this film because it's just a good film and it explains this backstory and it kind of like accentuates this weird reality that they're in. And was there anything you didn't like about it other than the Donkey Kong thing?
And that was really just a nitpick. I still liked that they were kind of enemies.
Yeah.
But for things I didn't like, Not really. It's more that I wish they did more with it. Like I would have loved like Luigi to be on like a Luigi's Mansion subplot instead of just kidnapped the whole time.
That's true.
Luigi was great. I really liked Luigi.
I liked him a lot too, and I kind of liked when as soon as he gets in the mansion, he shuts. And then like the lightning cracks. There's like a bunch of shy guys, kind of had like a horror vibe.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny. I laughed the entire time, and the second time I watched it, I was laughing so much harder. Bowser's scenes are so funny,
Yeah,
and
they're really good.
The singing and the music, and it was just great, man. I can't wait to see it again, and also looks like there's a sequel coming.
It has to come because of all the money it's making.
Yeah, I really just didn't, and I also really they really played down the marketing. I didn't really see much.
I didn't either. I mean, I'm sure it was around, but it wasn't like everywhere.
Yeah.
I would consider me being the father of 2 children as like a key demographic there because my kids can't go to the movies without me.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw any commercials.
Yeah. Well, do you have cable?
No, maybe that's the problem.
And when I was younger, I would see trailers all the time, and I always knew what movies were coming out. And now I only see trailers in the movie theater. So you kind of have to be in that circuit to be getting that kind of marketing. But yeah, I saw a few posters at the airport, but they didn't even say the date. It just said April. Like,
yeah.
You guys, like, this is going to be a bit, this movie's probably just not going to be good.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking, it's probably going to suck. Let's just go for it. And it was so good. It was just, I just got so emotional in a few key points. Did you ever see Wreck-It Ralph?
I did see Wreck-It Ralph.
Did you like it?
I was not a huge fan.
Really?
No.
Why?
I don't know. I was just kind of like, eh.
Interesting.
There were some jokes that I really liked. I really liked the joke about in that movie where Fix-It Felix was having a party or something. He's like, Mario's late as usual. It's funny because Mario games get delayed all the time. They never come out on time.
Oh, that's funny.
But
I thought there was some like video game inside jokes in there, and yeah, I thought I liked that it kind of had like the inside in the club kind of feel. Sure. If you're into video games, I really liked that movie too. There were some emotional moments there, when he had to destroy the cart and like I was like, oh, why? Why did you do that? So I find it interesting because I don't always really relate to animated films.
Sure.
But this one, Mario, I would say. They just really did a good job of humanizing these characters.
Right. Because your brother's been lost in another world before and you've had to go and save him.
Who hasn't gone through that? I mean...
I guess that's a good point.
These days,
right?
Everybody's getting lost in another world.
Well, we're out of time, but we can talk more behind the subscriber wall where there's things if you pay for
that
it.
You have to pay to get behind.
How do you get to the subscriber wall?
Well, that's a good question, Travis. You can go to babylonb.com/plans, become a subscriber today, hear the rest of our conversation, and get all kinds of other perks too. You can get behind the scenes content, blooper reels from our sketches. You can pitch headlines and get rejected personally by Kyle Mann. Maybe you'll get one in. There's a forum. There's so many things, and we want to hang out with you there. So become a subscriber today.
Wow, I'm glad you're a professional because I don't remember any of that stuff. Oh. Wayne, zoom in on my face. Okay, use promo code podcast when you subscribe to save an amount. And if you don't do that, if we don't get 50 people to do it, they're going to make me do more of these game corners. No.
They're going to cancel the game corner.
They're going to cancel the game corner. The person here is telling me that.
Save Travis's game corner. Use promo code podcast. Become a subscriber today so we can do more of these.
I want to keep my job and feed my family. The end.
Oh, goodness. Let's do some hate mail.
All right.
You used to be good.
Adam Ford.
I really miss Adam Ford.
Cool. Who wants to read the story? You should read it.
Okay,
Emma.
so this is what the Bee tweeted. Peppa Pig's family vacation ruined by Jesus healing demoniac at nearby cemetery.
That's funny.
Buddy Savage responded, hey, this is actually funny without being all hateful and alt-righty. Good job for a change, B.
So that was not a hate mail. That guy liked it. He normally hates our stuff, and this time he liked what we did.
He's like, good job making fun of Christians, guys.
So now it's time for the outro, so Adam knows when we're in the subscriber section.
Yeah.
Adam, why don't you give us the subscriber portion?
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned if you're a subscriber.
Coming up next, for Babylon Bee subscribers.
In a very real way.
I didn't see Buzz Lightyear, but I heard that there was like some major gay stuff in there. And like, that's just like not for
Totes gay.
kids. Chris Farley, really good comedian. Childlike vulnerability.
You're not allowed to disagree with Adam on this show.
Well, you can disagree with me, just not when it sets us back an entire segment.
Man boycotting Bud Light has to decide what else he can have for breakfast.
I like Boo.
This has been another edition of the Babylon Bee podcast from the dedicated team of certified fake news journalists you can trust here at the Babylon Bee, reminding you that peanut butter M&Ms are the official candy of the Babylon Bee podcast, unofficially.